Hello everyone and welcome to Sinful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, I want to talk Age of Sigmar, but I also want to talk Warhammer 40k. With the new edition of Warhammer 40k, and indeed the new editions of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, every time we see one of these new editions lead with some new ideas, new theories, and new ways to work things, you bet that the game after is probably going to take things on board. We've seen this now in the most recent one, I would say the Warhammer 40k 10th edition, removing the psychic phase and instead having, it put where they need to be. Now how sort of commands are more working in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I think is definitely an idea they've sort of taken from that as well. And indeed other things, and they have in the past, the psychic phase originally existed in 40k because it took that from Warhammer Fantasy, and Age of Sigmar itself has taken things from Warhammer 40k or indeed as well as Warhammer 30k, especially when we saw all the out of phase reactions and stuff like that. We had Age of Sigmar adopt a lot of that stuff into the game as well. And so in this video, what I want to talk about today is 5 things I'd like to see Age of Sigmar adopt from Warhammer 40k 10th edition. This, of course, is in the lead up. We probably, around this time next year, we'll probably start to see Warhammer Age of Sigmar 4th edition starting to be launched. We've got a big narrative campaign coming for Age of Sigmar that'll apparently end this year in Dawnbringers. That was revealed at Warhammer Fest the other day. We put a video up looking at Warhammer Fest Day 2 reveals. If you like Age of Sigmar and you want to go check that out, and you missed our live stream. But yeah, so I want to talk about these 5 things because I think they're 5 things that can definitely improve the life of the game and in different parts of the game. So let's go talk about each one of these 5 points in turn. And so, number 1, I think this is probably the best thing in the whole of the new Warhammer 40k edition, and that is Combat Patrol, where you can buy your Combat Patrol box set and you have everything you need inside that box set because the core rules are free for Warhammer 40k now, or at least will be when 10th edition hits. And you have everything you need to play games, and your friends can just grab a Vanguard box as well to play in this game system. Now, I hope this comes to Age of Sigmar. We use obviously the Vanguard box sets as our different alternative for it. We've also sort of seen this in even Middle-earth as well. Middle-earth has the Battle Host boxes, which are sort of balanced against one another as well, which is really fun. But yeah, I'd love to see this game mode come to Age of Sigmar. I think this is great. This allows people as well to go in different ways with the hobby. So you can play the hobby only ever playing Combat Patrol, which I think will definitely be a very valid mode of play. You could either play deep by purchasing your Vanguard box and then extending your army like most people do already, but instead you could go wide with your hobby instead. So instead of grabbing say the Nighthaunt Vanguard box and then purchasing the Mortar, then purchasing some other units that don't exist inside that box for your Nighthaunt army, like a Black Coach or some Chain Gas and stuff like that, you could instead go, well, I've got a Nighthaunt army because I've got the Vanguard box, maybe I'll get the Fire Slayers next, maybe I'll get Daughters of Cain after that, and then I'll get the Maggotkin of Nurgle, and you can go wide with your hobby, having a whole host of different armies, but all being able to play the game because you've just picked up the Vanguard box, which is a valid mode of play. This, I think, is one of the biggest strengths of this, not only to get new people into the game with these box sets and this nice, quick and easy, ready-to-play game mode, but also allowing people to explore the hobby in different ways. There's always a start when you go, I want to start a new army, but I need to get this box, I need to get this, and then I need to add, these 5 units to it. That can be expensive, and like the hobby's expensive regardless, of course, but I really like the idea on how this can allow people to expand their hobby in different ways, as well as helping new people get started in the game. And so, number 2, characters joining units. Once again, I really like this for 40k, and I get that this does have some issues on how do we balance certain things, and I do think they've definitely put some good measures in the new 40k edition for stopping, Death Stars to become a thing. First of all, you're only allowed 1 major character in these. I know that you're allowed to join secondary character in with a major, but you only ever have those 2. So in 40k, for instance, you can have a Space Marine captain join your unit of Marines, and you can also have, say, a lieutenant jump in there, but you can never have like a captain and a second captain, or a captain and a librarian and stuff like that. You can't have 2 major characters, or there are combinations that are not allowed, and they can easily restrict and change this as they need to as well. Also, certain characters can only join certain types of units. This would mean that, you know, we are going to see the units sort of that are meant to work together make a fighting formation on the table. You know, you are probably going to see a Knight in Cantor join units of Sequidors or Evocators and stuff like that, which I think is definitely the way we sort of want this to work. I think this, for me, can stop a lot of aura buffs being a big issue in the game, where you just sort of apply these to small units. It also stops your characters getting picked off, meaning your whole combo is sort of ruins. And there's definitely ways around this. You can certainly bring back something like challenges when units are in fights and stuff like that to help character killers potentially get there and kill enemy characters. This could be a really big help for those foot heroes that struggle in the game, you know, those little character assassins. I'm talking things like the Knight Zephyros or, you know, combat Fire Slayer characters that are meant to go in there and fight other little characters and kill them. This could definitely be something they could actually really benefit from if they're allowed to go into an enemy unit and call a challenge where they can actually target that enemy hero. Number 3, a damage toned down and defensive buffs. This is something they've definitely worked in. They've lowered the amount of rend in Warhammer 40k, or AP as it's called in 40k. If you play Age of Sigmar, it's the same thing as rend, does the same thing. They've definitely lowered the amount of that. They've also toned down damage a lot as well. But in the same time, they've also given defensive buffs to the units that should be defensively rock solid. And I think for me, this is sort of an issue I have with Age of Sigmar at the moment, especially at larger points games where you can get these big blobs of units that are hyper aggressive, and the game really does become you know, just a trade-off game, and there's no sort of protracted fights that you can influence sort of after that first hit. Now, this isn't always an issue. Yes, there should be some armies that are definitely aggressive, but I like to see my games more sort of progressive in their fights. You know, I get we only have a 5-turn game, but I don't like fights lasting for 1 turn. I sure don't want them lasting for 4 turns, but I wouldn't mind, you know, having a couple of turns of combat with my unit, or when I get hit, to actually be able to fight back at some decent level of strength. And so I would like to see this. I think this is definitely a much needed thing. I think we need to take a look at some of the things in the game, tone down things, give defensive buffs to the units that should have them, that don't already abuse some mechanics, because Age of Sigmar, I would say, is in a better place on a defensive standpoint. I think the things that probably should receive the defensive buffs are things like non-character monsters, and indeed even some of the characters and monsters and stuff like that, cavalry as well, and, you know, your heavy infantry. There are definitely a lot of units that already have what they need. Nurgle is a really good example of having stuff, although there's a lot of stuff that ignore their wards now, but this is definitely something I really want to see in the game. Number 4, universal special rules further explored. Now, we've definitely seen a lot of these come in the new 40k. They've started using a lot of wording. This stops wording issues and things going wrong in wording. You know, a slight little mistake in your language, and all of a sudden the rule does something completely different to the other units like it. Obviously, we have a couple of these in Age of Sigmar now. We have Ward as a general universal special rule. I think is the best example. But I'd like to see things like, you know, Deep Strike added as a rule, Feel No Pain added as a rule, or they're now called wards, but other sort of roles, Bodyguard as a universal special rule, Outflank as a universal special rule. There's lots of things that definitely could be cool. Ethereal could just have a universal special rule as well. And I think this just cleans up the game. This stops language issues where you can go, cool, this rule does this, regardless of what it's on. It makes it so much cleaner. It stops mistakes and stops little technicalities being involved in the game. Definitely something that needs to happen. A lot of, you know, weapon rules can exist from this. In 40k, we've now seen that, like, Torrent means you auto hit, for example, or other things mean you can auto wound, you can reroll hits, all of that sort of stuff. They can be given names. So one, that shortens your data cards, or your war scroll cards, whatever you want to call them, but also just means that rule is easy to remember. What does this one do? That is that. And lastly, number 5, proper Path to Glory support, because the Crusade system, I really like how they're going to go about that in the new edition of 40k, having these books not be included in the battle tomes, but be a system unto its own that is fully supported with these books that play through the narrative of the campaign and of the game, as you're going through it. I think this is a massive sort of plus. It does look like we are going to see this in the Dawnbringer Crusade books. In this little book series we are going to get from Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Once again, the reveals sort of showed this yesterday, which I'm really excited for. If that is true, we're probably going to be doing a campaign on this on the channel, which would be really fun. But this is definitely something I want to see a lot of support for. But that is 5 things I really want to see in the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and it adopt from what we're seeing from Warhammer 40k 10th edition. I know this is early days for 10th, but a lot of this does seem really positive for 10th, and I think would be really positive for Age of Sigmar. But let us know your thoughts, even if they're not involving 40k. What are some of the things you think could improve the overall life of the game as a whole, or in particular areas of the game for Age of Sigmar? And so that is the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below, letting us know what you enjoyed about the video. Also, if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our great little community here at Sinful Gaming, we have a Discord server linked down in the video's description. Also, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so by one of the following ways, either by going to our Patreon or YouTube members, which are linked down in the video's description, grabbing yourself some merch from Teespring or Ko-fi stores, also linked down in the video's description, or by helping us by purchasing something through one of our channel sponsors with our discount codes, again, linked in the video's description. Now, as a special thank you to all our supporters, we'd like to give a shout out to all our Patrons and YouTube members. So thank you to our Patrons: Christian Weir, Soren, Candy Lyle, Alderan Shot First, Andrew Bowen, Cure Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Dovemere, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Redmine, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. And to our YouTube members: Green Roots Gaming, Ronya, Lockloric, The Johnny 84, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty's Tabletop Terrain, Davis Weird, James Tillman, Gargamel196, Disco, and John Castle. A special thanks as well to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and indeed to everyone who helps not only run our Discord, the Facebook groups we run as well, but also comes, joins, and plays in the games on the channel that you see as well. Thank you all once again for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the grey. Ciao for now.